There's Chad. There he is. You called it. Okay, it was nothing. It was a super quick thing, so it wasn't. That's why. All right, it is 5 o'clock. I will call the Transit Commission to order. So we have some new members here, so we're going to be doing a quick roll call. Chad Palachek. Heather Cleveland. Here. Sarah Knaub. Here. Alder Barb Feldy. Here. Alder Trey Mitchell.
Here.
Is the chief online? Do we have anyone else online? And then Mayor Sorensen is present. All right, Alder Decker is excused and Roy Kluss is excused. For those in attendance, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Chief is here now. All right, so we do have some new faces here. So if you both would like to, we'll just kind of go down the table and we'll introduce ourselves. And we'll kind of go around the room too, because we've got some staff and some new faces as well. So my name's Ryan Sorensen. I'm the mayor. Yeah.
My name is Heather Cleveland. I recently started a business here in Sheboygan called Green Bicycle Company, and the focus of the company will be commuter bicycles and commuter bicycle gear, so I'm really happy to be part of the Transit Commission. I also was a small part of the non-motorized transportation grant at the engineering consulting firm that I was working at. My background is in civil engineering and urban planning, and then I also have 6 years of nonprofit experience, and I'm happy to be here.
My name is Sarah Knaub. I moved back to Sheboygan after living in Chicago. I moved back about 5 years ago after living in Chicago my entire life. I have never owned a car my entire life. I've used mass transportation always, and I'm very excited to see what I can do to change the mass transit system here. I absolutely adore the transportation drivers that I've dealt with because I take the buses constantly. The system is great that's in place now. The buses are spotless. My background is marketing, communications, and fundraising. I've had some great jobs in Chicago, and I hope to use some of that background to use to further the mass transportation system here.
I'm Alderperson Barb Feldy, District 1 and Council President. I was on the Transit Committee many years ago and asked how long, and I said, well, pre-Perez. So it's quite a ways back. I'm sure things have changed a little since then. That's it.
I'm Chad Palachek. I'm the City Development Director, and I've been with the city now since 2007 and served on the Transit Commission since 2010 when I became the director.
Derek, you want to introduce yourself?
You want to do the two online?
Oh, sure. Chief, you want to introduce yourself to the new folks?
Chris Domagowski. I'm the police chief, and I've been on the Transit Commission since 2010 also.
Trey?
I'm Trey Mitchell, Alderman District 9 and representative from the Finance and Personnel Committee on the Transit Commission. I have been on the commission for about a year now.
Derek?
And I'm Derek Mink. I'm the Transit and Parking Director for the City of Sheboygan. I am a transplant to Sheboygan from neighboring Manitowoc. I've been here now just over 9 years and serving as director for the last 7+ years. So I'd like to welcome all the new members to the Transit Commission. I look forward to working with you over the next several years. I am thoroughly excited to have a nice diverse group of individuals on the commission, users, individuals that are familiar with it, non-motorized, which Mass Transit likes to pair with very well. So I'm excited to have you guys on commission, and also Ryan, Mayor Sorensen in his new role on the commission as well. So I welcome you guys. If there's anything that I can ever do or be of service to you, now and in the future, don't hesitate to ever contact me, and I look forward to, again, working with you guys. Thank you.
Ann, do you want to introduce yourself?
She's the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Ann Keller. I'm the Administrative Coordinator for Shoreline Metro, and I've been with Shoreline Metro, it'll be 21 years in June. So I do have a lot of background.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. All right, so since this is a new term of the Transit Commission, we have to elect new officers. So I'll open up the floor to nominations. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I'll nominate the mayor.
I'm going to respectfully decline. Just don't want to put too much on my plate right now. I would actually like to nominate Heather Cleveland, if she would accept.
Yes, I accept, I think.
Okay.
The answer is yes, but I'll need to know more about the position and what.
Yeah, and Derek will connect you and they'll talk more too.
We'll talk more.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
It's not a strenuous, high-stress position, don't worry. We'll
Okay.
make sure it's easy for you.
Sure.
Second to that motion.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none. All those in favor of casting unanimous ballot for Heather Cleveland as chair of the Transit Commission, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. Congratulations, Heather.
Thank you.
Do you want me to run just the rest of the meeting, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll do election of vice chair for the election commission. Any nominations for vice chair of the committee?
I'd like to nominate Sarah.
Sarah, do you accept the nomination?
We can do it together.
We'll help you.
You can do it.
Okay.
You only have to fill in when the chair can't make it.
Yeah.
Sure. I accept.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chad. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none. All those in favor of casting a unanimous ballot for Sarah Canal as the vice chair of the Transit Commission, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. Congratulations, Sarah.
Pay raises.
This is fun.
Is there any public input? All right. Moving along. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from our February 16th meeting?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion by Chad, second by Barb. Discussion on the minutes from our previous meeting. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please state aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. The minutes are approved. Okay, 3.1, 2022-2026 Capital Improvement Program, CPI for Shoreline Metro and the parking utility. Derek?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for your information, Heather and Sarah, I do most of the heavy lifting, so if you want a chair or vice chair, you want to switch sometime, I'll be honored to switch with you. So for your consideration tonight is the revised 2022 through 2026 capital improvement program for Shoreline Metro and the parking utility. Just a little bit of a backstory for perhaps the new members. Annually, as part of the city's capital improvement program, each of our departments are charged with the task of presenting capital needs and requests as part of our ongoing, I guess, replacement of our assets and general maintenance of our assets. So for consideration, I'm presenting a revised and updated list for calendar years 2022 through 2026, of which I believe 2022 is really the only one that is being taken action on at this point. The other 4 years are just for preliminary and planning purposes. So if you open your packet up, you're going to see I don't have much to present, especially in parking. We have no project scheduled for 2022, and the project that is actually scheduled for 2023 is likely going to fall off the schedule here probably for next year. So, and then there's only one other project, and that's a major redevelopment of a parking lot in the riverfront area. I know that probably doesn't mean much now, but we'll get into a little bit more of what parking does, maybe on a side meeting with you guys. But that's really the only project that's going to be in the 5-year capital plan for the parking utility at this point. Switching over to transit, this has kind of been a 3-year progression here to get where we are with our capital needs. But obviously, one of the critical elements to providing mass transit, other than the human capital, is the physical capital, and that is buses. So going back a little bit, we received our first brand new fixed-rail buses in 2019, and those are the first buses we had received in 9 years, which wasn't a very healthy replacement schedule, but nevertheless, we worked through the challenges and were awarded some grants to do that. We took receipt of one bus last year through a state program, the VW mitigation program, if you've heard of it before. And then we were in the works of applying again for a second round of the VW mitigation funding. And then along with being a non-attainment area, we are eligible for what's called congestion mitigation and air quality control grants, CMAQ for short. And we were also awarded buses through that grant. So all in all, we were awarded 12 buses to be funded over the next couple of years. We did a little bit of work through a couple of those programs, and then working with City Administrator Wolf and his staff to rearrange all those buses into 2022. So in your in your packet, you're going to see the 5-year capital needs plan for Shoreline Metro, and you're going to see there's a whole lot going on in 2022, and then after that, it looks pretty clean, and that's because we moved some projects around. I'm happy to report that out of the 12 buses we were granted, we're funding 10 of those vehicles, and purchase orders have been issued for those 10 vehicles within the last couple of weeks. And now we are anticipating a delivery schedule of late summer, early fall of 2022 for those vehicles. So your approval on these items is a matter of formality. I'm getting this to you kind of late. Actually, the ball's already been rolling in the Capital Improvement Committee, but I did want to review this with you as these projects have been technically approved in previous years and previous capital improvement programs. So just for your review, in future years, there's a couple paratransit vehicles that are scheduled. We have a partnership with Sheboygan County, who also purchases vehicles for us on the demand response paratransit side of things. You'll see they're italicized, which means that's their responsibility or their program year to purchase those vehicles. So aside from 2022's major purchase of around $4.6 million, you aren't going to see many capital projects for transit in the next 5 years. So. Yeah, good question. Chad asked, what does the 12 buses do to the total fleet? I would imagine in terms of useful life and condition and stuff. So back prior to 2019, we were driving buses that were beyond useful life as considered by FTA, which is usually 12 years or 500,000 miles. We don't think of our cars driving 500,000 miles, but buses, they're workhorses. 500 is I kind of say it's usually breaking them in because they can go much longer than that if you keep up on maintenance. But in 2019, prior to receiving new vehicles, our fleet was 75% past useful life. That basically means two things. We're driving around high maintenance vehicles, meaning that they're very, very costly and very inefficient to operate. And then also low reliability. So when you have that high of a number, past useful life, you start to see both of those things happen, which is really what we were seeing happen. To put in perspective here, over the last couple of years with receiving the 5 buses in 19, the 1 bus in 2020 that we got through Volkswagen mitigation, and then the 10 that are going to be coming in 2022, that coupled with the 5 buses that we have from 2010 will mean that 100% of our fleet is under useful life. So we, in a matter of 3 years, will have gone from 75% past useful life to 100% within useful life. So that's a tremendous stat, and that's a credit to not only my team, but Transit Commission, City of Sheboygan, and the Capital Improvements Program for making that happen in such a short period of time. That answer your question, Chad? Okay.
Questions for Derek regarding the capital improvements proposals?
I have.
Feldy?
Derek, you have on there that there are 35-foot buses. Are those the larger buses, and are they as fuel economic as the shorter ones?
Really, when you come to fuel efficiency, there's really no such thing in mass transit buses.
All right. I get that.
Whether you're referring to the smaller vehicles, yes, you're going to get better gas mileage on a smaller paratransit type bus. They're lighter, they're cutaway, there's a lot of fiberglass and frame, but you don't get the useful life on them. Those typically run about 5 years, 100,000 miles, or 7 years, 150,000, just depending upon where you're at. So you don't get the capacity, you don't get the longevity and the robustness of a fixed route bus. So you have to eventually purchase more or spend more on those buses long haul. The reason why we do stick with or I should clarify, maybe a 35-foot bus as opposed to mass transit or fixed rail buses that are 30 feet in length. We used to have a set of about 5 buses, 5 30-foot buses, which are 24-passenger buses. That's the lowest size bus that you'll see in a mass transit system, in a fixed route system. When you look at those vehicles as far as gas mileage, there's no difference between those and a 35-footer. You can get buses up 40 feet plus, then you can get the one that looks like the accordion. I can't remember the name of it. You probably know when you're in Chicago, the articulated buses, that's it. So when it comes to fuel economy, you're going to get a little better on the paratransit buses than you are on the fixed route. But the fixed route buses are going to be a lot more robust. They're going to last a lot longer. We switched over to all 35-footers a couple years ago because of the fact that we had ridership growth. Over the last, 9 years since I've been here? We've increased ridership by 54%, and part of that was the development of our SASD school agreement. We could not put 30-foot buses in service because the capacity was just too great. We actually found it much more cumbersome because we had to take these out of service mid-morning and mid-afternoon because we couldn't put enough kids on board. That, or we needed to put more drivers out there, which is a very costly venture to add buses out into revenue service. So we bailed on the 30-footers and we got all 35-footers, which allows us to essentially put between 50 and 60 students on a bus comfortably. And yes, under normal circumstances, 5-6 of our 9 buses in the afternoon will hit that capacity. So that kind of gives you a little bit more update on it, but the fuel economy has a long ways to go in general on buses. It's just not something you typically look at. But all of our newer buses, all of our buses next year will essentially be clean diesel buses after we get this next replacement. So emissions are going to be very low. Fuel economy is going to be still, iffy, but they are newer buses, so that should improve as well over the buses that we have. And just to give you a comparison, we are running 18 and 19-year-old buses right now. We actually have 8 of those in fleet, and they're pushing 700,000 miles. So that's what we're going to be replacing next year.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion by Barb, second by Chad. Further discussion?
Mayor, I'd just like to add that with the approval of the capital improvement request, they then are included in the city's general capital improvements program that does ultimately get approved by Common Council. And these items are already included into that program.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. That's approved. 3.2, first quarter 2021 reports for Shoreline Metro and the parking utility.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just to kind of maybe give a little bit of an overview here. Yes, COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic has significantly impacted ridership on Shoreline Metro. For Sarah and Heather and maybe Barb, 2019 was our highest annual ridership total in close to 20 years. We approached almost 700,000 trips. When I started here, our first year of ridership was 470,000. So that's where the 54% increase comes in. And so when the pandemic hit, unfortunately, we weren't going to get to that 700,000 mark as much as we wanted to. So the pandemic has impacted us. Our ridership was down 45% in 2020 compared to 2019. And now in 2021, we're in that rebound phase where more and more people are starting to use transit for a number of reasons. Granted, school's back in session, jobs, you name it. People just feeling more comfortable and safe to take mass transit. In your packet, I'm not gonna divert too much away from the report, but in your packet, I did include, and I'll come back in the director's report, but I did include a summary on COVID-19 for you guys that you can read as to how we battled the pandemic. Two very important things that we were very proud of was that we were not linked to an outbreak in our organization, both for our employees and for our customers. And we didn't have to cancel any service due to a lack of drivers and staff. So two things we were very, very proud of. But for the first quarter, compared to the first quarter of last year, ridership is down 51%. It's going to be a little bit higher right now because of the fact that we had all 3 months this year. We're all in the pandemic, whereas all 3 months in the first quarter last year, or the first 2 months were in the pandemic, and half of the third month was in the pandemic. And revenue is down 28% at this point as well. Let me see here. COVID, like I said, continues to impact ridership and revenue. March revenue is up 27% over last March, so we're hoping that's a positive indicator of recovery and returning to normal. The pandemic has reached the 12 months, and so future reports now are going to be comparing pandemic numbers with pandemic numbers. Revenue trips for the quarter were 9.38 trips per hour. Again, I apologize, I'm rambling numbers off that probably mean very little at this point, but again, I hope to educate and work with you guys in the future to help understand some of our performance indicators. And so that was the fixed route, 51% down ridership, but revenue down 28%. Metro connection was very similar. Ridership was down for the quarter by 38% with revenue down 35%. For most of the quarter, actually all of the quarter, we shifted all of our fixed route Saturday service over to demand response that was provided by Metro Connection. So that contributes to the ridership down on the fixed route side, but does help with the ridership up on the Metro Connection side, and hence why there's not as big of a decline in ridership in the first quarter on paratransit. And then I have some similar stats here for Metro Connection. The trips per hour are significantly down again. And then parking utility revenue was down for the quarter by 30%. You know, it's one of those things that we're not really sure what that's going to track and how that's going to track. It's always positive when we see more and more people downtown. Obviously, businesses are back opening. Restaurants are getting busy. So I think naturally that rebound's going to happen. But I think most of our revenue is probably down in parking permits right now, and that is, I think, related to people working from home yet and not being back in the office in some of our major employers downtown. So in your packet, you do have the report for transit and the report for parking utility. You'll see this report each quarter, and the numbers will fill in as we go along. So with that, I'd ask if you have any questions on the quarter reports.
Any questions for Derek?
Not yet, but I will later.
No worries.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to accept the report?
Motion to accept.
A motion second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please state aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. Thanks, Derek. Director's report then, 3.3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing on my report, I did want to spend just maybe a little bit of time on this, just to update you on some things that are going on. I won't spend, again, too much time on the COVID-19 stuff. I did provide you with the white paper that was put together, serving customers during a pandemic. I actually spoke at a Chamber First Friday Forum, Weathering the Storm, and I put this one-pager together for that. As to how we combated the coronavirus pandemic, and we're able to continue providing service throughout the entire time to those that needed essential services, including transit. So if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to take it at the end. But I do want to go into a couple of the other items. We every 3 years, we're required to go through what is called a federal triennial review. And that's put on by the Federal Transit Administration. Region 5 out of Chicago is our oversight region. And I was happy to say that we were able to meet with them yesterday virtually. It was a little over a 5-hour session on Zoom. So if you've ever done a Zoom call before, that was officially my longest. But nevertheless, it was a very successful day. Going back, we were originally supposed to have this review in August of 2020, but due to the pandemic, it was pushed out, and we were able to complete it yesterday. We will have our final wrap-up session 2 weeks from this Thursday. I think that's the 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And that at which time we will find out if we have any deficiencies or any findings, as they call it. Back in 2017, which was our last triennial review, we had a perfect triennial review with 0 findings. I'm not going to get too optimistic, but I'm pretty certain we probably are going to get a 0 finding triennial review this time again. Very successful. A lot of work went into it over the years between my staff and many city departments. So again, thank you for that. And I will be sharing that results with you guys as soon as I receive that. Item number 3, I've already talked about bus purchases with you. It gives you a little bit more details as to those purchases. For those that were on the commission prior, I've updated on a possibility of the town of Sheboygan opting in for transit services. That has since been halted, and they have put that on the back burner again, so we will not be pursuing any transit relationship with the town at this time. But we remain open should they change their mind and want to start that dialogue again. We recently worked with our union, the union that represents the drivers and the maintenance staff at Shoreline Metro. It's the Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 998, to revise the current wage scale for our paratransit operators and the creation of a utility worker position. I put some minor details in here, but due to the fact that the agreement hasn't been officially signed yet, I'm not releasing the full details of it, but I will say our paratransit drivers were making under market value for their services in comparison to other transit systems. and forecasting hiring needs in the next year or so, and knowing where the current conditions are, what other relative, like retail, manufacturing are hiring at, we needed to bump up our wage to stay competitive and still be able to hire excellent and qualified individuals. So we adjusted our wage scale up slightly for our drivers, both current and new hires. And so that we can, again, continue the success of hiring well-qualified, safe, and awesome team members for our team. And then we also create a new position. It's a utility worker position that allows individuals to perform maintenance duties as well as drive buses, both on our fixed route and our paratransit. Over the years, we've been trying to take down the silos, meaning that employees were assigned to either driving fixed route or paratransit or performing light maintenance duties. We've gotten rid of two of the silos, and that was that we were able to have drivers do both paratransit and fixed route. The last maneuver here is to kind of tie in those light maintenance duties and offer the opportunity for drivers to fill in, doing some bus cleaning, fueling of buses, things like that. So we've entered into an agreement to make that position possible, which will add a lot more flexibility to our part-time staff. So those items will be signed off and incorporated into the current labor agreement, hopefully making us a much more attractive option, especially for those entry-level driver positions. So, number 6, our Harbor Center Express was a trolley route. Will commence on June 14th and run through September 4th. Our trolleys that we currently have were retired because they are tired. We are trying to get one back up and running just to get us through. But I'm working with Chad and City Administrator Wolf on hopefully procuring a new trolley, used probably trolley, to be used in our service. But we do, for you guys that don't know, we do offer a trolley route throughout the South Pier, Riverfront, and downtown areas throughout the summer. It's been a very successful venture for us over the last couple of years. So we want to keep that tradition going, especially after last year when we didn't offer the service. So hopefully we can rebound that service this summer by opening it up again and making it better than ever. And you'll see in your packet, I think there was a route guide for the Harbor Center Express. Is that true?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Good, thank you. A couple more items. Hotspot is my next item here. I'm currently in discussions with a mobile payment company called Hotspot. They offer mobile payment solutions for both transit and for parking. Many individuals or many companies like this in the industry have primarily focused on one or the other. But Hotspot has elected to go and incorporate both, which is very attractive for us. So I've started some discussions. We are going to have a presentation later this month that brings in additional city officials. The police chief, Chris Domagowski, and city administrator Todd Wolf will be able to attend that as well, because obviously there's the enforcement side of it. So it's not just parking utility doing the operations. It's also our police department who does the enforcing, and their CSOs that do a lot of the customer service downtown. So it's really a triangle that makes up our parking utility. So we really need everybody on board, finance, operations, and police, to make mobile payments happen. So hopefully we'll be moving ahead on that and getting away from the solely just coin collecting in the meters. I know everybody that parks downtown would like a mobile payment option, so we're excited to hopefully work through this and put a solution together that makes sense for the city. Last item that I really have for you guys, on-demand service. So during the pandemic, we experimented with using on-demand service instead of fixed route service. That was kind of alluding to maybe Barb's question about using smaller buses instead of bigger buses. It's called right-sizing public transit. So we started looking at areas where we can right-size and perhaps provide on-demand services very similar. I don't like to use the word Uber or taxis because I like to think we'll do it better, but it is a cost-sharing, ride-sharing program that we would like to try to develop, and that would better service perhaps areas of Sheboygan, our growing industrial park on the south side, and then also our partner municipalities with the Village of Kohler increasing their needs in different areas for public transit services in the City of Falls as well that shares in those things. So we're looking at developing a third transit option at this point that I wouldn't say most in Wisconsin, but probably most systems across the United States are starting to look at it. Also known as microtransit, if you've heard that term before too. So very exciting project that my staff and I have been tinkering with over the last year during the pandemic, and we hope to bring that out and make that a reality here either later this year or early next year. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I know you guys are new and maybe didn't feel like you had a hand in everything, but know going forward that you're going to have a significant hand in assisting myself and my staff with Shoreline Metro and the parking utility. And again, I'm excited to work with you guys. So thank you for being a part of the Transit Commission, and don't hesitate to contact me if I can ever be of service to you guys. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I am done with the director's report.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate it. Questions for Derek? All right. Is there a motion to accept the director's report?
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Barb. Additional comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of accepting the report, please state aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. That's approved. Thank you, Derek. We've exhausted the agenda. Next meeting will be determined. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, please state aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. We're adjourned at 5:35. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.